Hey guys, it's Virtual from Newton's Gambit, and in this video I'm going to be giving kind of a flight assist off 101 tutorial, and then also showing some basic maneuvers / practice strategies that you can use if you're brand new to flight assist off. Consider this video the first in the disorganized series of flight assist off videos. Now I am at a scientific installation because there's a ton of awesome tunnels to fly through, and we'll be using those later. This scientific installation also happens to be the same one that Mox and Wolf used in his video flight assist off, and it's in the Sand 2 systems. You can come here. It's actually nicely in the bubble, super easy to get to. So it's a great spot in my opinion, an excellent tool for practicing. Like I mentioned, I'd like to start off kind of with a maybe a compare and contrast, showing you guys what the flight assist off is for, some of its advantages and disadvantages and the differences. Now, if you already have a little bit of experience, I suggest you skip through the video just a little bit to get to the actual practice techniques that I'll be doing just a little bit later. So I found a pretty bright spot on the station, and this is where I'll show you the differences between the two methods here. So I'm not supposed to, but for scientific purposes only, I'm going to toggle flight assist on and show you guys what it's all about. So right now we're in flight assist on. This is what you're used to, and you've probably already noticed, but down in the bottom right and left corner of your screen is my stick overlay. So I expect that you guys already have a good setup for flying with 6-axis controls. I personally use dual stick with so I use T16000Ms from Thrustmaster. You can do pretty much whatever you want. Some people fly with HOTAS, and I've even seen people fly FA off with keyboard and mouse. However, the standard applies. If I roll with my stick, you can see that the roll activates pitch, yaw, and then some of the more non-standard axes with my opposite stick are the lateral thrusters. Took forever to activate. And the vertical thrusters. And then, of course, the forward and back. Now, flight assist on is correcting for you at all times. When you let go of the stick, it brings the ship to a stop. So if I apply full lateral thrust and then I let go of my stick suddenly, the ship comes to a stop nicely for me. It's the same with roll. If I apply roll, the ship will come to a stop for me. However, flight assist off is quite the opposite. In flight assist off, if I apply full lateral thrust, it just keeps going until I do something about it. Furthermore, if I roll, the ship just keeps going until I counter the spin. So this becomes a little bit of a challenge for people, and I think that this is the biggest difference between flight assist on and flight assist off. Also, in flight assist off, you have a little bit more thrust authority, a 40% more rotation, so you're able to spin your ship around quite crazy. You can even see with my Sidewinder, like the amount of rotation I get with flight assist off is pretty crazy. And this leads us into the advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, having a little bit more rotation is a huge advantage for the flight assist off, but also there's other advantages too, and one of those, the ship is actually perfect that it's here right now, is that if you're in PvP, you can always keep your cursor pointed at an enemy. For example, especially if you're flying a smaller ship and you're attacking a larger ship, I can actually, I could be attacking this ship right now while he can't look at me. I can stay behind him at all times, but I can continue lasering him down. Now, if I was in flight assist on, this would be much more challenging. I'd be flying behind him and losing my orientation and getting all in trouble, right? Because he would gun down my Sidewinder instantly. But as you can imagine, having the ability to always keep yourself facing your enemy is an excellent advantage. Another advantage is that you're able to do maneuvers that are not exactly normal. In the video after this in the series, consider this the first video. The second video after this is Tethering. I show you actually how you can maneuver around a rotating station quite easily. Flight assist off makes some maneuvers much more simple to complete than they normally would be. Furthermore, it feels more realistic and, for me, more comfortable and engaging. At the end of the day, it's a user preference if you'd like to toggle between flight assist on and flight assist off. Now there are some disadvantages, as you might expect, and one of those is pointing at things precisely. Say I'm trying to hit a fellow Sidewinder from 3 kilometers away with a railgun. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's pretty difficult. When I first started out with flight assist on, I would like this little red thing, I would like hunt around it like this. And you'll probably do the same thing too. You'll overcorrect like crazy. And it's actually quite challenging at first to keep yourself centered and in control as you fly. This is remedied obviously with flight assist on, where you don't have that problem. Furthermore, if you accidentally hit something in flight assist off, your ship goes crazy. So let me demonstrate, hopefully without blowing up my precious Sidewinder. Yeah, exactly. So the ship rotates and spins until I do something about it. And it's kind of annoying, especially if you're mining asteroids. But, you know, on the topic of mining asteroids, we could pretend this thing is an asteroid, and if you're placing your seismic charges on an asteroid, it's actually pretty convenient to be able to rotate around the asteroid, like so, and fire your seismic charges quickly. There's kind of some advantages and disadvantages about the two different systems. Like I mentioned, you can always toggle. I elect not to just because it's what I prefer, but there's really no good reason behind that. Now I'd like to get in some actual training techniques, and the first and really simple thing that I'd like you to try is to just stay stationary. Find a point on a stationary station or something that you can just kind of lock to and just try to stay stationary. Obviously, if your station is spinning, it's not going to work. If you're trying to stay stationary in a point there, that's called tethering, like I said. So maybe this little orange light, I'm going to try to keep my orange cursor right in the middle of that orange light. I'm going to try to keep my ship just super stationary. And what this helps teach you is how to not overcorrect. You know, because you'll probably give you'll give the yaw authority, and you forget you have to give exact opposite the yaw authority to center your ship once again. So this is something that comes with time and practice, just keeping your ship stationary. And as I mentioned earlier when we talked about and compared and contrasted the two systems, you actually have to, if you're rolling, you actually have to give opposite input to stop the roll. So go ahead and put the ship into a roll like this, and then try to precisely and with one fluid motion stop the roll. Just like so. Full roll. And stop. So just like that. I mean, this is some good practice, and it really helps you not overcorrect. You can do the same with pitch. Maybe I want to pitch from this pipe up to the edge of the station. So full pitch and then full backwards pitch. You know, just try not to overcorrect. I would say do it slowly at first, kind of get used to it. Just like so. Now you can also overcorrect with your lateral and vertical thrusters as well. So find something like this, I don't know, something you can go between. These are kind of cool, these little notch things. And you can think about what you want to, think about going back and forth between these. So I'll put my cursor here, and without using my pitch, I'll actually just use vertical thruster to go to the next seam, just like so. And I'm trying to do it in the most smooth way I can. The same can be said about the lateral thruster, and you can even do it diagonally if you so choose. This is excellent practice to kind of become one with your control scheme and to prevent yourself from overcorrecting. I think that's all that I'd like to talk about there, at least for the very basic maneuvers that you can try. Obviously, it's worth also going in and out with the throttle, and then using your yaw and your pitch as well to adjust between two different things. Now, the reason we're actually at this scientific installation is because there's some sweet things here, like these tunnels. The tunnels are awesome practice because they actually force you to do a little bit of work and stay centered. So just like we did on that station a second ago, I want you to try to fly through the tunnel and stay centered. If you're flying a stock Sidewinder and 4 pips to engines seems like too much, you can always reduce that. Try it slow at first. Center yourself in the tunnel, push the stick forward. Let's see, I'm going to go pretty slow. And we'll just cruise right through the tunnel. The goal is to not hit anything and to stay centered. Flip the ship back around, then do it again. As you get more comfortable, you'll be able to do this quicker and more precisely. You know, I also suggest you throw yourself for a bit of a loop too once you get a little bit more experienced here, and give it a little bit of lateral thrust as you come in. So I've given it some lateral thrust here and a little bit of down, and I actually have to correct by pushing the ship up and over to stay centered inside of the tube. So lateral into the wall, and then I'm correcting the center again. Now remember how I talked about it's important to be able to cancel out your rolls? Well, that's no different here. Go ahead and try putting your belly to a different wall. So maybe I'll try halfway through the tunnel, I'll just move my ship, I'll roll my ship over to the right side. Roll, and then counter roll to cancel it. Try it a few times and try it slowly. Try the other direction this time. Roll and counter roll. Maybe instead of 90 degrees, try 180. So start at the bottom surface, roll 180 degrees, and now you're on the top surface, or what was the top surface. This greatly helps you prevent overcorrection when you're flying in everyday life, and it really helps with maneuvers that we'll be doing further down the line. Practice it back and forth, link it a couple times, etc. Now there's actually a really sweet place on this station where you can practice this even more. However, we'll get to that in just 1 second after one more maneuver. Now if you learn one thing from this video, I want it to be this, and it's that where you're pointing does not equal where you're going. For example, I can send myself through this tube. I might hit something when I show you this, however, I can just flip the ship around. This doesn't affect where I'm going or anything. The ship is still going where I thrusted last. You need to work really hard to disconnect this in your brain, and what I want you to try to do to kind of aid that disconnection is fly through the tunnel backwards. So I'm coming to the end like this. I'm going to use full reverse stick and fly backwards. Now once again, I need to center my ship. However, I'm doing basically the same thing that I was when I was going forward through the tunnel, except now my vector is going in the opposite direction. You can also flip around inside the tunnel. Furthermore, if you want to be a little bit brave, you can use the sidewall. And now in this instance, you're actually judging your distance from that sidewall, trying to keep the cursor right along that girder that holds the tunnel together. Just like so. This is probably the first step in helping you disconnect your brain from thinking that the tunnel, or thinking that the direction you're pointing is the direction you're going. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Slatted Tunnel. Let me see if I can find it. I think that it's here. Is this where it is? No, it's not. I need to fly around for just a second to find this tunnel. I still haven't memorized this area perfectly yet. It's actually quite confusing. Especially in the dark, I can't really see. Yeah, there's so much stuff here. No, I think it's right here actually. This is the area with it. Now which side is it on? That's the question. Is it this one? Oh, yeah, one of these tunnels has little girders. Yeah, here it is right here. Now for this tunnel, it's very good practice for the rolling that we talked about earlier before we started flipping around inside of the tunnel. You can do the same thing. You can give yourself a little bit of forward momentum. Try to keep yourself centered, but now apply the roll that we learned to roll through these while keeping yourself centered. Obviously, I'm going a little bit fast for starters. I suggest that when you first do it, you do something more like this. Super slow, super careful. Try to be precise, fluid, and smooth. Once you get some practice, it's almost like the Sidewinder is just kind of doing a dance. And, maybe if you get really brave, you can give it a boost just for fun. Anyway, once again, like we've been studying, this really helps you prevent overcorrections. I suggest you practice with it a lot. Become good at this, because you will use it constantly. You can also try it with bigger ships if you feel the Sidewinder's too easy. Other things like that. Now this is also the perfect location to move on to the next topic, and that is turning. Now I'm going to be talking about the probably the basic kind of turning, which is just using your vertical thrusters. Now if I tried to turn around this building, my ship would just float off the edge, right? So I would flip, the ship around, and then if I was flying FA on, I would just pull up and the ship would go around. However, in this case, I just keep going. This is where the vertical thrust comes in. To make a turn around something, you can fly along the bottom of it, just like I'm doing here. Flip the ship over, fly over it, and then I'm going to apply a little bit of vertical thrust to pull myself into the turn. Just like you see there. So even with a tunnel like this, pitch up, apply some vertical thrust, and then I'll make the turn into the tunnel. It is worth noting that your forward thrusters are by far the most powerful of the thrusts that you have on the ship, obviously more so depending on the ship that you're flying. More complicated turns involve something like a drift, as if your nose is pointing toward the center of where you're turning. Almost like if you're in the car, you push the throttle to change the direction you're going, right, in a drift. I'm not going to show that here, that's probably going to be in a later video. The basis that you want to use for that is going to be tethering. Once you learn how to tether, that's basically what you're doing. You're using your forward throttle to maintain a turn. Now this area with the slats is perfect because there's a few complicated maneuvers we can do to pull off a turn. On the opposite side of this, it's the roof, in my opinion, is actually a tunnel here, and then it also makes another turn. So you can fly down this tunnel slowly, roll around, use your vertical thrusters to maintain the turn, spin around again, and then vertical thrust again to do another turn. Do it a couple times, do it in different directions, and learn how it works. Now there's this thing called drift. When you're turning a corner like this, you want to try to stay in the center of the tube always. If you're going too fast, you might feel like you're getting too close to the bottom edge and you'll slam into it or something. You don't want that to happen. So always try to maintain your speed. That's something you have to be cognizant about when you do a turn with the vertical thrust, is how high your speed is. I'll do this a couple more times so you can kind of study it. I'm going to roll over, try to be precise, vertical thrust, and like so. Now I actually used a little bit of forward thrust to adjust myself. The forward thrust is a great aid to help you do turns. You can also do outside turns like that by using different thrusters, and you can do turns with your lateral thrusters as well and the yaw, however it's quite a bit slower. This is the basis of doing slow turns in Elite Dangerous with flight assist off. I suggest that you practice this, become proficient at it, and once you do, you'll be well on your way to being a master flight assist off pilot. Even if you don't intend to fly flight assist off all the time, this is great practice just for everyday life. Now at this location, there's a ton of fun stuff to fly through like I mentioned. I suggest that not only do you do these training techniques that I showed you, you also pick some spots and fly through it for fun. I think I was doing this at the beginning of the video. You can actually just have some fun, fly around. And that's honestly where the best practice comes from, is just flying around and learning how your ship behaves. Fly through the tunnels, turn around, fly through another tunnel. Now, like I can fly through this tunnel, I can link it to, try to maintain a turn here, and I can fly to a different tunnel like this one right here. And then I can fly through the tunnel again. Kind of make it your own, make a fun circuit out of it almost. Yeah, so that's just an example of some of the flying around that you can do. Now the next video in the series is on tethering. Once you become proficient at these things, I suggest you check that out. That'll really step up your game to the next level, and you'll be able to do more efficient and faster turns with the skills you gain from that, as well as obvious precision. After that, I'll probably be talking about boosting. With flight assist, boosting is a totally different animal, and we use some interesting techniques to control it, so be looking out for that video. I appreciate everyone's participation and you guys watching. Also, don't forget to check out Moxon Wolf, who used this spot before I did. He also has a ton of good information. Some that I might have missed, I might have some that he didn't cover. Together we have a ton of good stuff for you. Let me know if you need any help. I'll leave the Discord link in the description to the organization we are in, and you can contact us and we can help you out. That being said, if this video did help and you liked it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.